Welcome to the Social Your Sales podcast. Social has changed the B2B and professional services sales landscape forever. We are here to help you navigate what you need to know and how to execute these new strategies. Whether you are a sales leader, individual producer, or a member of the C-suite looking for answers, this is the podcast for you. Now here are your hosts, Brandon and Erik.
Well, welcome everybody, and Erik and I just got done recording this episode, and we just wanted to jump in and ahead of time and tell you you're in for an amazing conversation.
This gentleman we have on, Tim Hughes, he wrote the book on social selling. I mean, we say that in the podcast. He literally wrote the book on this thing.
And you know what stands out with me, though, is that as much as I love reading and everything, and there's so many people that write books now, and they do it for publicity's sake, but Tim speaks about social influence and social selling with one expertise because he's been doing it so long, but a depth and awareness of what it really is like I've never heard before, even so many so-called social experts that are out there.
Well, it's interesting because his approach to social selling isn't we're a LinkedIn coach. That's not what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And there are tens of thousands of LinkedIn coaches out there. Believe me, I get hit up with them all the time.
Yes.
So you're in for a treat with this one. It's not what you think.
Yeah.
This isn't a how-to for LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the one phrase he said that stands out the most for me, and everybody pay attention to this and listen. He said, an organization could utilize social to be the go-to company in their industry. And then when he explains how to do that, that should make every C-suite sit up and say, how can we leverage this digital thing to be that company? What stood out the most for you?
You know, really first of all, his understanding and knowledge that the industry of the marketing suite is in a quandary.
Yeah.
And that this has changed, that the world has changed, it's been accelerated, it's changed, and you don't know how to do it and you're scared, and that's okay. If a year comes by and you still don't know, now you've got a problem.
Yeah. Well, we could keep going, I think, with all the nuggets that stood out to us, but we're just going to let you get right in the episode. So jump on in and listen to our conversation with Tim Hughes from DLA Ignite. All right, everybody, welcome to Social Your Sales podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Lee, and of course I have on my left,
Erik
Holdo.
How are you?
Hey, thanks for finishing that and telling me your name just in case I forgot.
Just in case you forgot.
All right, everybody, we have a very awesome and important guest for us today. And yes, Tim, you are awesome. We have Tim Hughes with us, who is the founder or co-founder, yes, of DLA Ignite. He is the author of Social Selling, and he's also the author of Smarketing. And we just learned, I didn't realize this, that he has social selling in Chinese.
In Chinese.
If you're Chinese and you want a copy, it's only available in China.
Only available in China. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, Tim,
there is an Arabic version as well, and an Estonian version and a Vietnamese version.
An Estonian version.
Yes.
You just never know.
You just never know. Well, Tim, welcome to Social Your Sales podcast.
Hey, I'm excited to be here.
So this is actually our first recording for this podcast, and we decided, why not go straight to the man that literally wrote the book,
Who wrote the book on social
selling, and have you kick off our podcast. So thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, you're welcome.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to ask this straight question. What makes you the authority to write a book on social selling?
That's a really good question.
And of course, I say it with love and affection and appreciation. That sounds a lot harsher.
Yeah. Back in 2014, I was working for a very large US software company, and we were, in the high tech arena. There was on-premise. We were an on-premise company, and we had loads of new cloud companies that were faster and more exciting and cooler than us. And we suddenly found out we were being outsold. And so what we decided to do was completely business transformed the sales team. So we did things like we got them to use whiteboards rather than using PowerPoint. We taught them how to story tell. And the third thing was that we taught them fairly rudimentary working of using social. So I rolled this out across 4,000 people in Europe. And social in those days was really just looking at people up on social media. But what I did was that, as so can happen on social media, is you bump into people. And I bumped into Matt Reynolds. He previously had written books. We just went to Kogan Page and we got a book deal within 3 months.
Wow.
3 months later, it was written. And I basically, Matt and I entered the contents of our heads into the book. So it was everything that I knew about social selling at that time. One story was that we brainstormed every chapter. He and I got together and we brainstormed it in the kitchen downstairs. And the first brainstorming session, I'd been to a meeting that morning with my sales VP, who was a particularly inspirational, but he was a particularly typical aggressive sales VP. And he leant across the desk at me and he basically pointed his finger and he said, this social selling is all very interesting, but where are the leads? I missed the word out. And what we decided when I explained that to Matt was that would be the thing that we would always think about whenever we wrote a chapter. We would look at the chapter, look at the way it was constructed, and say, if it was too fluffy, we would think, okay, where can we find the leads? And that's what we did. And what we built with that book was it's a workbook. It's not about how to use LinkedIn. Right. It's not about how to use any social platform. It's a book that enables you to connect social media and profit and revenue, and that's what we went about. And it sold over 5,500 copies, which for a business book is a bestseller.
And isn't it amazing that this has become even more relevant these days today? I mean the concept of social selling, as we talk to people who are in the enterprise sales arena, the B2B, large corporations, multi-billion-dollar corporations, it continues to surprise us and amaze us how little not only the sales reps understand about what social selling is, but really how little respect it has within the sales corridors, because the managers are under a 30-day drumbeat of where's the revenue, where's your forecast, where's the pipeline. Everything is about pushing things into CRM. Everything is about what are your KPIs and did you execute? And you don't have enough demos, you don't have enough proposals, you don't have enough this, which I've always found ridiculous. The formulas that they come with their funnels just mean to me that you're scattershotting everything, trying to see what falls down, and maybe you'll kill one bird out of the group. And in these days, we're now starting to see almost a panic by some, realizing that things are going to change, things are going to be different.
Yeah, I see it all the time, and the thing is what people do is that they take the things that they did in the past, so that the failed legacy techniques, cold calling and email, and what they do is that they bring that to social, and then they find it doesn't work, and then they say social doesn't work. It's like, well, yeah, because actually you're not doing it right. Or we find a lot of people, they'll read my book and then say, okay, I'm a social seller, which is a bit like me going and reading a book on judo and then expecting to compete in the Olympics. I mean, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And we see a lot of people basically, in effect, cold calling on a social network. They're using it as a telephone directory and say, okay, here's Erik's details. Right, I'll ring him up. Right. And that's not social selling. The other thing that didn't help us is in the early days of social selling, a lot of the people that were involved in it were marketeers. So we had a very marketing focused view on social. So you'll get a lot of people, and if somebody says this, they don't know what they're talking about. If somebody says social selling takes a long time, they run as fast as you can. because in fact you can do, we've had business where, Monday we put out a post, Tuesday the MD phones us up, Wednesday we've basically pitched, Friday we've basically presented to the board, Monday we get a purchase order. Now, if that social selling is taking a long time, it's not. And if you're doing social selling well, it will be faster, you will get more leads faster, and you will sell higher than if you're cold calling or basically spamming people with email.
I love your stories too, Tim, as you share that. And there's one that I've heard you all share at DLA with, I think it was Adam's post that was personal. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know there's setup to all of it, but I love the outcome of that single post.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do here at DLA Ignite is that what we do is social. We're not an agency that does websites and stuff like that. What we do is just focus. We live and we breathe it. We do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and which has made us become the global experts on it. And one of the things that we do all the time is experiment. And what we did is that we went online and we did a review of content. And everybody can do this, because the great thing about social is everything's transparent. So if you go on to LinkedIn, you can look at adverts and you can see how many likes they've got. Now, if they don't have likes, then we can conclude one thing: nobody likes them. We don't like them, and nobody looks at them.
Wait, how did you get to that conclusion? No likes means no
one
one likes
likes
you.
you.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes them. And then gradually what you do is that we've built this pyramid of content. And of course, the big mistake that everybody makes right now, and people are spending billions of dollars on this, is basically putting out corporate content. So what they're doing is that they're putting brochures onto social. Now, research shows that nobody comes to social to read brochures.
Right.
People come to social to be social.
Yeah.
You're looking for insight. You're looking to be educated. And I'm sorry, I know there's marketeers that may be watching this and say, well, our brochures are really insightful. Your brochures will tell me that your company is great and your products are great. And I know that already, because you're going to say that because it pays your mortgage. Now, you won't read my brochure, so why would I read yours? Yeah. Now, so what we found, the best thing on content is humanized content. People are on social media to understand something about who they are. So Erik, one of the people that works for me, put out a post, and we always use this as an example. It's a post from last year where he was on the beach with his son, Austin. Austin was 16, and he had a COVID birthday like a lot of us. So he couldn't be out with his mates drinking. He had to go with his boring dad. They went to the seaside. And Erik took some photos of it and posted it on LinkedIn. And everybody's seen that. We kind of all seen sort of those sort of things. But what we have is that we have a methodology behind that actually takes the likes and comments and harvests that. So he put that post up, those pictures. It took him 10 minutes. And off the back of that, he got 6 C-level meetings. He got 2 proposals and 1 purchase order. And it took him 10 minutes. Yeah. Now, there is not one single demand gen method out there, cold calling, advertising, email, that can get you 6 C-level meetings in 10 minutes. This is where people are using social and social at scale to actually get proper leads and meetings with people that want to talk to you and are able to do it really, really quickly. Hence the social takes a long time is a complete nonsense. Yeah. And it's just an example that we use. And I've just signed a US software company, big US software company, and I basically always say to people, how did you find out about us? And they said, we saw a video that you put out, you did a piece to camera on Monday. We were looking for someone to come and help us with social selling. We saw it and we said, this is the person we need. I had no competition. Huh. If I was selling to that company, it would have taken me 18 months trying to find the right person to speak to. And they came to me straight to me and said, with no competition. I mean, this is transformational in the way that we sell and market today. And businesses are just so far behind.
Now, in fairness, well, first of all, I have a similar story. I have a friend who, Deborah Korn, who has something like 80,000 followers in LinkedIn and connections. She's maxed out her connections. She's in the print industry. She used to be an advertising executive.
Yep.
And very smart lady. And she says, I put out a picture of my father's Purple Heart and got 35,000 likes and views on this thing. Yet I put out information that is relevant to my industry and content. And she's not selling anything, by the way. She's just an information provider within the industry. Companies pay her to be part of her events and whatnot. And she says, and my views are down low, and that started a discussion about sort of what gets me even on the stage to be able to have my content be seen, and why is it that one form of content, and this is especially first-party authored content with a picture and a description, that made it through the hurdle in order to get that sort of.
And we get a lot of people that will say that's all very interesting, but the thing is that LinkedIn isn't Facebook.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about the way we sell, if you want to get close to one of your clients, you'll take them to a sports game or you'll take them for a meal.
Right.
And then you say to the person, well, why do you do that? And they say, well, I get to know the person. Yeah. And this is exactly the same. What we're doing is that we get to know who we are. And if we were going to place a large order with somebody, we want to actually come into their LinkedIn profile and see who are they? What do they stand for? Do they have the same ideals as us? Do they have the same understanding and culture? And normally we would go through a process of due diligence over weeks and months, but we can come to someone's profile, we can make a decision straight away and say, you are the solution to my problem. And that's the big change. But the other thing about that content is that you shouldn't put it all out. Don't put that. Or if you put pictures of yourself on the beach, everyone just assume that you spend all the day on the beach.
Yeah.
So you put that out. That's really a way of humanized content. Is a way of getting into other people's networks. It's a way of prospecting. And what you do is that you need to have content in your profile that shows what you stand for. So I stand with social selling. You come to my profile and you'll find hundreds and hundreds of articles about how you can actually social sell as an individual and how to social sell as a business. And so that's the difference.
Social Your Sales. We'll be right back.
Is your sales team struggling to hit quota? Are your buyers ignoring your sales requests for conversations? The third tier of digital transformation is social. Is your team equipped to meet this challenge? This show is brought to you by FunnelAmplified. We help sales teams align their sales process with how modern buyers prefer to make their purchase decisions. FunnelAmplified is a social selling platform that drives new opportunities with your sales team, using proven social selling tactics to drive pipelines and hit quotas. With FunnelAmplified, it's quota achieved. To learn more about FunnelAmplified or start a free trial, please visit us at FunnelAmplified.com.
Now, from an expectation setting perspective, though, your story about somebody seeing your video and then contacting you and engaging and essentially closing that business, that's not necessarily the case either, right? Because what are we doing? We're walking into a cocktail party that happens to be a digital cocktail party, and we're introducing ourselves to people that we don't know. And how do we start that discussion? Do we start it with, hey, here's what I do. Do you want to buy from me? Or do we start with...
And that's totally nails it, Erik, which is that a social network is an equivalent of a digital cocktail party.
Yeah.
And we walk in and we go up to somebody and say, hi, Brandon. Hi, I'm Tim. Have you traveled far today? Well, and we have a conversation.
Right.
Just a normal conversation. If we went in and said, I've got 30% off this week and the first 5 in line will get 50% off, someone will basically phone security and have you removed.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
The fact of the matter is that, but you've got probably 99.99999% of all salespeople doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And they think that cold calling on a social network is somehow social selling. I mean, I saw someone put a comment today saying social selling was dead, and it's like, you don't even know what it is, man.
You don't, exactly.
I mean, you know, I can tell from your profile you don't know how to social sell.
I engaged in a series of comments with somebody the other day on this. Somebody had posted something about social selling and what the impact is going to be, and it was a well-written post, and I commented on it. Somebody came back and said, social selling doesn't work.
Okay.
I came back and I said, that's very interesting to hear. Tell me about your experience with social selling. What didn't work? He says, I've taken out many ads on LinkedIn. None of them pay off. I come out with offers all the time. None of them pay off. I said, you're absolutely not doing social selling then.
Right.
And
It's advertising.
yeah, you're using this as an advertising platform.
Advertising is advertising. It's not social selling.
Exactly.
I mean, it's and there's so many people that, I mean, the vast majority of people are still not selling properly.
Yeah.
And it's scary because life has moved on so much. You know, we see organizations that are still selling and marketing the way that they did before the pandemic. And we know that so many things have changed. You know, we're so used to now coming on Zoom calls and putting the video on and there's so many, you know, we're used to reaching for our mobiles, you know, and buying. Yeah, if you want to buy anything, the first place we go is our mobile and research it. So why do you not think that your buyers are doing that?
Yeah, that's one of the most fun conversations or topics to say with anybody that says social selling is dead is to say, let me ask you a question. How do you buy things? When was the last time you responded to a cold email? Or when was the last time that you answered the phone? Because we can look down on our phones and see that it's an unknown number. When was the last time you actually answered an unknown number?
You don't.
Right?
You don't.
Yeah.
And then what I always do is I phone them back, and it will say you're through to the reception of someone, and I just go block.
I don't even.
I mean, it must be. One of the things, I'm very sympathetic for cold calls. It must be so soul destroying to know that I will never take cold calls. You'll never take cold calls. You'll never take cold calls. If they leave a voicemail, you'll just delete it. And then I block them. And if that was your job, you'd want to curl up and go and do something else, I'm sure.
Tim, let me tell you, the ones I feel sorry for is these poor sales managers who have been sales managers for 10, 15, 20 years that just have absolutely no clue that their entire world just got accelerated into a change. I mean, this is a logarithmic change in the way things are going. And it's still funny because you still hear them. You still hear them say, but there's the basics. Basics of what? Your emails get blocked. Your cold calls don't even ring on my phone. I don't get a ring on my phone unless it's somebody in my database already. And you know, the spam blocker takes care of the rest. I literally take my mail. I look for first class stamps on the mail. I pull those out and I put the rest in the bin, just because I don't even look through the direct mail. And by the way, I was in the print industry for 34 years,
I was about to
printing
out
direct
that
mail.
irony.
But that's how I got that little trick of just looking.
I mean, I don't. I mean, we get a lot of salespeople coming to us saying we're desperate.
Yeah.
You know, we have got no pipeline, and all that's happening is that the leadership are saying you've got to make more calls and send more emails. I mean, you know, make one more call. I mean, it's the biggest scam that's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just utter rubbish. And you know, we get, you know, there's a lot of people. I'm 56. There's a lot of people that are my age that just don't understand the world has accelerated way past that.
Yeah.
And they've got to break free. I've got a presentation tomorrow at a conference, and you know, I have to say, people, look, guys, you know, if you don't understand about social selling today, that's okay. You know, there's been a lot of changes. We can understand that, and things have accelerated, and we really get that. But not understanding what social selling is in a year's time is a travesty.
Exactly.
And will seriously affect and impact on your career.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that you've got to get investigating, and you've got to have the courage to stand up and actually stand in front of the board and say, do you know all these things that we've been doing? It worked. But do you know what? The world's moved on, and we need to do something else. And I've seen something, and I think you need to trust me, and I think you'll be amazed at the results you get, and walk forward. And we're happy to do a pilot. We're more than happy to do pilots with people. And we get benchmarked. We've been benchmarked across advertising. We've been benchmarked across email marketing, and we always win. Most companies actually, we've got one drones company. They've stopped all their spending on all other parts of marketing because they're just going all in on social because they know it works.
Right.
Tim, would you I know Erik had a question and I wanted to interrupt, sorry. That distinction then between social selling and social influence, because I know a lot of times we talk and it's like social selling and you either get thrown to the sales team or the sales team will say, oh, it's content related, you have to go to the marketers. But I love that you have a bigger conversation with your customers about the organization's complete social influence. Can you speak to that briefly?
Yeah. So we see one of the reasons why Adam Gray, my business partner, and I set up the business was that we saw that nobody was out there talking about social from a strategic perspective. Everybody sees social as a tactic. So, you go to most organizations and they say, yeah, we're doing social already. And well, talk us through that. They say, well, Janice in marketing, she puts out a picture of one of our brochures every 2 weeks. And she sends around an email and we all like it. We don't know why, but and anyway, we're nailing it. Every time I talk to her, she says that, we get 30 likes because there's 30 people in the company. And we're nailing social. So we're not interested. And that's social as a tactic. Or you get people doing a lot of the LinkedIn trainers and that, it's talking about the algorithm, which is really irrelevant. This social is a strategic aspect now to your business. It's a board level issue. And the reason for that is that social impacts across the whole of your business. Just doing social selling is actually just a random act of social. It's a good place to start, but think about what you can use social for is to recruit people. We're just about, as we come out of the pandemic, I'm already hearing in the US and the UK, there isn't enough staff. So we're going to go back to where we were before the pandemic, which is we can't get the right talent. By using social, you can become the employer of choice within your industry. You can get people actually out there going, do you know, that looks like a really good company to work for. I'm going to contact them. And those are the people that you're looking for, because you always will get these transient people that will move every 2 or 3 years. But the people that you want are the people that are going to come and stay for 10. And you want them to be working at the desk, going on LinkedIn and going, do you know, that looks like a really good company, and then applying. And using social, not just in HR, but in supply chain and procurement. You can use if in a procurement perspective, you can actually go online and say, I want to buy these products. So classically, what happens is in procurement, what you're looking for is the cheapest price and the best quality. There are lots of companies out there that you probably don't even know about, that you can say, I'm looking for these things, whether it's sheet metal or desks or whatever, and you can have a conversation with them and a discussion. And then maybe things you haven't thought about. You go out and buy desks, and then someone says, have you thought about a standing desk? Oh, no, I haven't thought about that. And what's the sustainability? When we take the other desks and we replace them, is there a way that we can actually get rid of them in a sustainable way? Because we have that as a strategy. So what you see is social is able to work right across the business. And we see social as a change program right from sales, where you'll get a revenue and a profit uplift. And then you reinvest that in the business to pay for the transformation using social across the business. We are the only company in the world that knows how to do this and does this. McKinsey, KPMG, all of those companies, we all check them out and they don't understand it. We're the only company in the world that does it.
If only there was a company that could take that social messaging from the corporation and spread it in earned media across their employees to get that message out better.
In a way,
if only there was.
If only there was.
It would be great if there was this tool.
And I'd call it FunnelAmplified.
Yeah.
Let's brainstorm a couple of ideas.
Why don't we turn that business on?
And use that across sales. If you think about HR, HR is a great example of
Yeah.
let's get our HR people to talk on social about the work-life balance, diversity and inclusion, accessibility, Black Lives Matters, all of these things that employees that are looking for people to come and work for will be saying, I want to work for a company that has got these things, not just about how much it pays and how many days holiday it is. And if you think about Google, Google that never has to advertise a job because we know what it's going to be like to work there. We're going to have slides and jelly beans and bean bags and stuff like that. But most companies don't have that sort of ability. But you do, because you've got the ability to talk about your culture online. So it's not just about sales, it's about HR and across all of the business.
Let me ask one question. We've got about 3 minutes left in this, so Gartner Group came out with an interesting study this morning, and it basically said that their estimates that marketing dollars would not decline after the pandemic actually were false, and they've declined almost by 50%. So marketing budgets as a percentage of revenue have declined close to 50% in that process. That has opened up, and part of their study was looking at earned media as part of the way that they're going to combat this so SEO, some SEM, but earned media principally. And I think that speaks volumes to where the opportunity is now for people to understand social selling, because the dollars aren't going to be there for the traditional marketing methods. You're not going to see the tents set up at the 18th hole of the golf championship or at the NASCAR race or the Formula One race anymore. You're not going to see that to that level. So now those dollars are gone, and they're going to have to make their reputation known in a different way.
Yeah, we saw before the pandemic people questioning the spend of exhibitions and conferences.
Yeah.
They just weren't getting it. I mean, when I worked in corporate life, you'd say, why do we need to be there? And the answer was, well, because our competition are there.
Well, and the CEO likes to go to those.
Yeah, never anything about leads.
Yeah.
And in fact, exhibitions and conferences delay the sales cycle, because if you think about, there's 2,000 people at a conference and it's there for 2 days, there's 754 million people on LinkedIn, and you can go there right now. And so why would you wait for the conference when I can go and have a conversation and talk to those people? So, yeah. And I think we've all seen that conferences are now online, it's cheaper. And I mean, some people will always say they want to do face-to-face.
And I do hate to say it, but those events also tend to spread things out, because customers aren't stupid, and they get their free trips to Monaco, or they get their free trips to Manhattan, or to wherever it is, and they'll keep milking that for all it's worth.
As long as they can, yeah.
Yep.
If
So much to keep saying, and we're running out of time, and I can't wait for Erik and I to kind of regroup and retalk and set up what we have to say about this. But Tim, I want to take this as an opportunity to say thank you, because not just for being here as a guest, but thank you for the partnership that we've been able to forge with DLA Ignite, with you and Adam, how much we've learned from you. And for everyone, just our announcement that as we move forward, going deeper and more with social selling as part of the FunnelAmplified platform, we went out and looked, and we found the best in the world in Tim and Adam with DLA Ignite, and I begged Tim to partner with us, and he finally conceded. I think I wore him down.
You're welcome. I mean, we love you guys, and as you know, we are totally committed to this. We see, this is transforming the world. I mean, there's a lot of startups who'll say that we're changing the world, and we are changing the world. Yeah. And we're changing people as well. One of the things that you'll find as you go, as people go through the program, is that they come out differently. In the old days, when I could see people face to face, you used to end the training, and people used to come up and hug us. Yeah. Because of the transformation that takes place, and it's amazing what's going on, and I'm glad you're here for the journey, because it's one hell of a ride, and it's great fun.
Can I end on my end with this? And I'm sorry to have the last word, but I've got to share this story. So it was So this would have been 4 years ago. I was speaking in an event in Las Vegas, a sales conference. There were about 400 or 500 people in the room. And the vision that I had for FunnelAmplified was a social platform for the organization, which is why we have the ability to have multiple admins come in. So HR could log in when they have a job opening, or HR can log in when they have something to promote about charity that they're supporting, and they could create content, push it to the hubs, generate social posts, deliver it to the team's phones, and everybody has the opportunity to customize it and send it out. And I talked about social influence is the opportunity for companies to be known for however they want to be known. And I literally got laughed at. Well, I was on. Yeah, I was sitting there behind the podium, and there was 3 or 4 people together, and this one woman especially could not shake her head emphatically no enough. And this whole row of people were laughing at me as I was up there. And I think we are going to have the last laugh, because social is not going anywhere. This social digital connection is not going anywhere, and you're paving the way. You're spearheading this, and we're grateful to be a part of it. We're grateful for you.
We're not going anywhere, Brandon. Thank you. It's great.
Yeah.
I love the story. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for listening to the Social Your Sales podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please share it with your friends. Social is meant to be social, and sharing is a great way for us to meet you and get to know you. Click on share and tag us at FunnelAmplified, or just use #SocialYourSales.